Your thesis, where you're looking for founders, what kind of companies and where you want them to be based.
Yeah, recently started at Menlo Ventures, very excited. And I'm going to be covering consumer and gaming investments over here. It's actually, Menlo doubling down on consumer investments. Interestingly, at a time when a lot of funds for the last few years have been rotating out of the category. And so, whether blockchain or non-blockchain, AR, VR, it's constantly an area with new platforms and innovation, new customer and user experiences. So I'm really excited to be focused on the space.
I guess, Amy, it takes me to the why be the GP for consumer and gaming. I'm assuming there will be crossover in your previous work looking at blockchain. When I think about video games, as we know on this program, video games is life. I think about collectibles in games, tokens, things that you buy, security around that, and blockchain technology. Is that kind of how you're thinking?
It's one of the areas. So I would say that, if you look at the history of consumer and gaming investing, particularly consumer investing, it's been driven, new experiences have been driven by platform shifts. And I would say that, mobile was the last very large one. A lot of the, most, interesting companies of like the last 10 years. So if you look at Uber and Airbnb, et cetera, really were created with technology and innovations in mobile. Blockchain is a promising platform shift, I would say, and still early. There's been companies experimenting on on chain, but I think it's yet to be seen in terms of mainstream adoption. And of course, everyone is very excited about the promises of Gen AI right now as well.
I think about your background because Menlo is a different firm, a new firm. Reflecting on what's happened in recent years, how much of the conversation with Menlo was about what happened at FTX Ventures? Was it sort of any kind of barrier to moving forward, working with them?
The short answer is no. I think that they know that myself and, to be honest, like most employees, unfortunately we're misled by the founder. And so most of our conversation, frankly, was in terms of what I will be covering and my thesis areas for the future.
You were actually only there for 10 months. What do you feel you've learned from the experience? An emotional one, I'm sure, and one of great hurt. But how ultimately do you feel you will do business differently post FTX Ventures?
I've been a venture investor for a long time. I previously spent a few years at Lightspeed and then before that at Insight. And so in terms of being an investor, I haven't lost any passion for that. And excited to continue working with great founders. And I think, there's been a lot of learnings from FTX. I mean, first and foremost, it was a very fast-growing company that did real revenues and profits in the years that it was in operation. But I think there's a lot of uncertainty in tech, and none of us really expected that to happen.
What's interesting is we find ourselves in a new AI hype cycle, it feels like. Crypto was the hype cycle previously, AI is the new one. And you, of course, were there within some of the savvy investments being made with FTX Ventures was Yuga Labs, I think a Bored Ape Yacht Club, and just how that sort of became the #1 NFT anyone could really think of. Sober Studios, the Web3 platform to build your own games. Are you thinking this feels like a hype cycle again? How do you make sure you have long-term investments in the world of artificial intelligence and where that value rises right now?
It's a really great question. I mean, AI has been a technology in development for decades at this point, and it certainly had its iPhone moment, I would say, in the last fall with the launch of ChatGPT. And so, when I was at Lightspeed had long time been investing in AI, and Menlo has also been as well. And so, I would say that really the investment cycle continues. With Gen AI, there is sort of new surface area, I would say, in terms of both increasing productivity of workers, for example, artists in gaming, but then also in terms of defining a new way that people interact with computers and also, converse with computers, which is really interesting and has a lot of ramifications in consumer experiences. So those are all areas. Those are all areas that will be really, really interesting to track.
Amy, within video games, are you interested in startups and companies that want to use generative AI progress on the content side? Where's the opportunity?
In gaming, so a lot of tech actually, I think, originates from gaming as a use case. And the concepts of, I would say, like two areas of a lot of intense interest, which is procedural generation of content in games, and also, NPCs or interactions with bot players in the game has actually been, in development for a couple of decades with the first Diablo game, with
Yes.
MMOs. And so it's a concept that I would say gaming founders and gamers know quite well. And as such, they're both sort of wary about the hype cycle right now in Gen AI investing and the promises of that, but also very keen to, I would say, experiment with the technology. And at a higher level, I think that, indie gaming studios have always been disadvantaged compared to incumbent large gaming companies when it comes to budget in sort of game design, marketing, et cetera. And so if Gen AI tooling is able to help, I would say, like, augment what they are able to create from a content perspective at cheaper costs, then it levels the playing ground. I think it allows a lot more games to be released of a really high quality, and that's a net plus for players.
I love that your mind went to non-player characters. There's a lot of discussion around how let's just make games better and more challenging and dream up worlds to play in. I'm gonna get too involved in this video game chat. Got to get your take on consumer. You kind of start this conversation saying you're kind of pivoting into something that others have pulled back on. Is there a risk there?
So there's two things that are simultaneously housing. Well, the first is if you look at just the Nasdaq and S&P, some of the largest market cap companies are consumer tech companies. On the other hand, if you look at the last, I would say 6-7 years, or there hasn't been a lot of, I would say, very large consumer tech companies that were newly founded that has reached, the scale of Facebook and Amazon and others. And I think one of the reasons is because, incumbents were founded with pretty deep network effects that are very difficult, and they have massive distribution, and it's difficult for a new company to compete. And
Yeah.
so it remains to be seen whether Gen AI as a platform and new technology is going to actually benefit incumbents more or new startups. And I generally believe that for a new consumer tech company, you really need to dream about a very new surface of consumer experience to compete against incumbents. Otherwise, it's pretty difficult even today.